Welcome, everyone. One of the best ways to prepare for the IELTS speaking test is to see it in action. That's exactly what we're doing today with this complete mock test from Spinta. As you listen, think about what the candidate does well and where they could improve. Afterwards, we'll compare notes with a full performance breakdown. Let's begin. Good afternoon. My name is Mark. Can you tell me your full name, please?
Good afternoon. My name is Lina.
Thank you. And can I see your identification, please?
Yes, of course. Here it is.
Right. Now let's start with some questions about where you live. Do you live in a house or an apartment?
I live in a small apartment on the third floor of a block of flats in the city center. It's compact but very bright. Large windows face south, so we get a lot of sunlight during the day. I like it because it's close to my work and to parks where I can go for a run in the mornings.
Why is that location convenient for you?
Mainly because commuting is easy. I don't have to spend hours in traffic, and I can walk to the office in about 20 minutes. Also, there are cafes and a small market nearby, so shopping for groceries or meeting friends is simple. It makes daily life less stressful compared to the long commute many of my friends endure.
Have you lived there long?
I've been living there for 3 years. Actually, I moved when I changed jobs. The move felt like a fresh start, and over time I've made the small space comfortable by adding plants and a few pieces of second-hand furniture which give it character.
Do you plan to stay there in the future?
For the near future, I plan to stay because it's practical, but I'm thinking about buying a house at some point. Ideally somewhere quieter with a small garden. Owning a property is expensive where I live, so it will take a few years of saving and planning.
Now, let's talk about your family. Who do you live with?
I live alone, but my parents live in a town 2 hours away, and I visit them most weekends. I'm the middle child. I have an older sister who lives abroad and a younger brother who is a university student. Even though we are spread out geographically, we are quite close, and we speak often by video call.
What do you enjoy most about spending time with your family?
I enjoy the ease of being myself with them. There is a sense of history when we are together, shared jokes, memories from childhood, and a kind of unconditional support. For example, my mother cooks traditional dishes when I visit, and we end up talking for hours about small things. That feeling of belonging and being accepted is the best part.
Moving on to work. Do you work or are you a student?
I work as a project manager in a small tech company that develops educational software. My role involves coordinating teams, planning releases, and communicating with clients to ensure the product meets their needs. It's varied and sometimes stressful, but I like the mix of organization and creativity.
How long have you been in that job?
I've been working there since 3 years. Sorry, let me correct that. I have been working there for 3 years. Before that, I worked in marketing, which gave me useful skills for communicating with customers and understanding user needs.
What is the most challenging part of your work?
The most challenging part is balancing competing priorities and tight deadlines. Sometimes clients ask for additional features late in the development cycle, and it's my job to negotiate what is feasible without compromising quality. It requires a lot of clear communication and occasionally making tough decisions about scope and resources.
Do you enjoy your job overall?
Yes, overall I enjoy it. I appreciate the team I work with and the opportunity to see ideas turned into real products. The job gives me a sense of accomplishment when a release goes well and users respond positively. At the same time, I try to maintain a life outside work so I don't burn out.
Now let's talk about hobbies. What do you like to do in your free time?
I enjoy reading, running, and cooking. Reading helps me relax and also broadens my perspective. I read fiction and non-fiction. I run 3 to 4 times a week because it keeps me fit and clears my head. Cooking is something I do at weekends, trying new recipes and sometimes inviting friends over. It's social and creative at the same time.
How long have you had these hobbies?
I've read since childhood and kept it as a lifelong habit. I only started running about 5 years ago when a friend encouraged me to join a running club, and cooking became a hobby in my early 20s when I moved away from home and needed to learn to look after myself. Each hobby has its own social circle and benefits.
Which hobby do you enjoy the most and why?
If I had to choose, I'd say running because it combines physical exercise with mental relaxation, and it's something I can do almost anywhere. After a run, I feel energized and more focused. Also, participating in local races gives me small goals to train for and a sense of achievement when I improve my time.
Finally, in this part, tell me about your daily routine. What is a typical weekday like for you?
I usually wake up at 6:30, go for a short run, or do a quick home workout, then have breakfast and catch a tram to work. My workday is a mix of meetings, checking progress with developers, and writing reports. I try to take a proper lunch break, often with a colleague. After work, I might attend a language class twice a week, or cook and read at home. I usually go to bed around 11. Weekends are more relaxed and focused on social activities or catching up on chores.
Do you think your routine will change in the future?
Possibly. If I change job or move to a different city, I might need to adjust commute times, and if I decide to buy a house, I might have different responsibilities. I hope to keep the regular exercise and some creative time, but flexibility is important as life circumstances evolve.
Now we're going to move on to a different part. I'm going to give you a topic, and I'd like you to talk about it for 2 to 3 minutes. You will have 1 minute to prepare. Here is your topic. Describe a time when you helped someone. You should say who you helped, why they needed help, what you did to help them, and explain how you felt afterwards. Your 1 minute starts now.
Okay, thank you. I will talk about a time I helped a colleague at work who was struggling to meet a tight deadline for a product demo. The colleague Tom was relatively new to project management, and the client had moved the demo forward by a week due to their internal schedule. Tom was overwhelmed because several key features were behind and the team was small. He asked me if I could step in to help reorganize the plan and coordinate extra testing. I spent the next 2 days reprioritizing tasks, splitting complex items into smaller manageable chunks, and assigning short focus testing sessions to volunteers from another team. I also worked late one evening to finish documentation and to make sure the demo script was clear and rehearsed with Tom the next morning. The client was impressed and the demo went smoothly. Afterward, I felt relieved and satisfied that my experience could help someone else avoid a disaster. It also strengthened my relationship with Tom and gave him confidence. The situation taught me that sometimes practical, calm intervention and clear communication can turn a potential failure into a success. That is all.
Tell me more about how Tom reacted after the demo.
Tom was visibly relieved and very grateful. He said the rehearsal had given him the confidence he lacked, and that seeing the tasks broken down made everything seem achievable. In the following weeks, he became more proactive and started taking ownership of small planning tasks. It was rewarding to see him grow. I felt the help had a longer-term benefit beyond that single demo.
Did helping him involve any personal sacrifice?
Yes, it did take some personal time because I worked late for a couple of nights and I postponed a personal plan. But I considered it worthwhile because the product's success affected the whole team and our client's trust. In the end, the extra effort paid off in terms of team morale and client satisfaction.
Okay, now we will discuss some broader questions related to helping others. Why do people feel good about helping others?
I think helping others triggers a sense of connection and purpose. Psychologically, humans are social creatures, and assisting someone builds social bonds and reciprocal goodwill. There's also a chemical component. Acts of kindness release endorphins which make people feel good. Beyond that, helping often aligns with one's values, so it reinforces a positive self-image. For many people, seeing a tangible improvement in another person's situation provides emotional satisfaction and sometimes even a renewed perspective on one's own problems.
Do you think people in your country help strangers often?
Generally, yes. People do help strangers, especially in everyday situations like giving directions, helping with groceries, or assisting during public transport issues. However, the extent can vary by context. In big cities, people may appear more reserved due to busy lifestyles, but when a clear need arises, many will step in. Community initiatives and volunteer organizations also reflect a widespread willingness to help, particularly after natural disasters or during charitable campaigns.
How can schools encourage children to help others?
Schools can integrate service learning into the curriculum so children experience helping as part of learning projects. Simple measures like organizing community cleanups, charity drives, or buddy systems for younger pupils develop empathy and practical skills. Teachers can also model helping behavior and discuss ethical reasons for helping, which builds understanding. Rewarding collaboration rather than just individual achievement encourages students to think about collective well-being.
Are there situations where helping someone can be harmful?
Yes, sometimes help can create dependency or undermine someone's autonomy if it's not offered thoughtfully. For example, providing continuous financial support without helping someone build skills can prevent them from becoming self-sufficient. Similarly, intervening without consent in someone's personal issues can be intrusive. Effective help often involves empowering people and considering long-term consequences rather than offering quick fixes.
What role does technology play in modern volunteering?
Technology has made volunteering more accessible by connecting volunteers with organizations through apps and platforms, facilitating virtual volunteering like remote mentoring or translation, and enabling crowdfunding for causes. It allows coordination at scale and helps track impact. However, technology can also depersonalize interactions, so it's important to balance digital tools with meaningful human contact where possible.
How do cultural values influence attitudes to helping?
Cultural values shape whether helping is seen as a private family duty, a communal responsibility, or a civic obligation. In collectivist cultures, helping family and close community is often prioritized, while in more individualistic societies, institutionalized volunteering or charitable giving may be more common. Religious beliefs also play a role by prescribing acts of charity. Ultimately, values influence the forms helping takes and how people interpret responsibility.
Do you think volunteering should be mandatory for students?
I think mandatory volunteering has pros and cons. It ensures broad participation and exposes students to social issues, which is valuable. But if it's compulsory, it can feel tokenistic and some students may not engage sincerely. A better approach might be strongly encouraged volunteering with meaningful options and reflective elements so students understand the impact and develop intrinsic motivation.
How might the concept of helping change in the future?
Helping may become more globalized and tech-enabled with online platforms matching skills to needs across borders. There will likely be more emphasis on sustainable help that builds long-term capacity rather than short-term aid. Additionally, as societies grapple with challenges like aging populations and climate change, forms of volunteering and mutual aid may adapt, focusing on community resilience and systemic solutions rather than isolated acts.
Some people argue that governments should do more instead of relying on volunteers. What is your view?
Governments have a primary responsibility to provide essential services and a safety net, and relying solely on volunteers is not a sustainable substitute. Volunteers complement public services, offering flexibility and community engagement, but systemic issues require policy solutions and funding. Ideally, government support and civic action work together, with policies that enable volunteering and address root causes, rather than shifting the burden entirely to citizens.
Finally, can you compare helping within families to helping in the workplace?
Helping within families is often motivated by emotional bonds and an expectation of reciprocity over the long term. It can be informal and unconditional. In the workplace, helping tends to be more transactional and goal-oriented, It's driven by professional responsibilities, team productivity, and sometimes recognition or career benefits. However, workplace help that builds trust and collegiality can resemble family-like support and contributes to a healthy organizational culture. The main difference is the context and the mix of emotional and instrumental motives behind the help.
Thank you. That is the end of the speaking test. The candidate demonstrated Band 8 level performance. Notable errors included saying I have been working there since 3 years when it should be I have been working there for 3 years, and saying it were more efficient when it should be it was or it would be more efficient. These slips occurred rarely and were isolated within otherwise accurate speech, so they had minimal impact on understanding. Fluency was smooth, with natural discourse markers and only occasional brief hesitation or self-repair, for example when the candidate corrected the since 3 years phrase. Vocabulary was wide and precise, with words like prioritizing, reciprocal goodwill, and service learning used appropriately. Errors in word choice were minimal and did not obscure meaning. Grammatically, the candidate used a range of complex structures correctly most of the time, including relative clauses and conditionals, though there were isolated slips in agreement and preposition use as noted above. Pronunciation, rhythm, and stress were natural and clear, making the candidate easy to understand throughout. Overall, this performance meets the criteria for Band 8 because communication was coherent, developed, and well supported with examples. Vocabulary was sophisticated and accurate, and grammatical control was strong with only occasional lapses. What prevented a higher score were the few minor grammatical slips and a very small number of imprecise prepositions, which, if eliminated, would move performance closer to Band 9. To reach the next band level, the candidate should aim for consistent error-free use of complex grammar under pressure and eliminate the occasional inappropriate preposition or agreement error through focused revision and practice under timed conditions. Thank you for practicing with this IELTS speaking mock test. Visit Spinta for more comprehensive mock tests and personalized feedback to boost your IELTS score.